Testing, mic number 3. Testing, testing.
Just Cece. All right, shall we? All right. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Lift your voices higher. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. So we learned a new melody last week for those that were here virtually or in person. And I thought it'd be great if we could bring that new-ish melody back. So take a listen. If you remember this from last week, join me. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Beautiful. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. That's it. Join me together. Ya da 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 da. Yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. That'll come back later.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
You can hear me okay? Great. And I want to send a heart tap to those who are with us on Zoom. We want to make sure they can hear us as well. It is wonderful to be together as one community to celebrate Shabbat. We come from many different places on this journey throughout the week, whether we have had a joyous week, a challenging week, a week of mourning. However we arrive to this week, we arrive together to welcome Shabbat as a community. As we bring in Shabbat this week, we also study double parashah this week, Matot Maseh. I'm going to focus a bit on the second parashah, Maseh, which means journeys. For we recount the 42 stops on the journey that the Israelites make as they are wandering through the deserts. And I love the Shabbat custom that helps us think back on the journeys of our week, the stops that we made along the way. And as we welcome Shabbat, we pause and we think about each stop on the journey. Each stop on the journey might be, how was Sunday? How was Monday? What happened on Tuesday? How was Wednesday for me? But as we continue with our nigunim and our warm-up and our welcome, I will invite you to think about the journeys, the stops on your journey that led you to this Shabbat. And then when you get through the week, to set your intention, to think ahead as to what this stop on the journey, this day of Shabbat, will bring for you. So with that, I invite you to get out of your seats, to greet those who are around you, to wish them a Shabbat Shalom. And when you return to your seats, you can reflect. I have tzedakah up here for our young ones.
Yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai tai. Yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai, yai tai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai tai. Yai tai 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 tai.
Hopefully you had a moment to think about your week's journey as we enter into Shabbat. I'm going to put the tzedakah away. I invite you to turn off your cell phones, separate yourself from the busyness that was this week, and take a deep breath in as we begin to welcome Shabbat. I want to invite our dear ones, Sarah and Sandy Aronson, to the bima to light our Shabbat candles as we turn to page 120 and 121. As Sarah lights our candles, let's read the top of page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליקנה של שבת.
We will bring in Shabbat with joy and song as we continue on page 128 for Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid nefesh shav harachama, Yedid nefesh shav harachama, mishoch avdecha, eretz zonecha, אל מול היתרך ירוץ עבדך אמור ישתחווה ידי אל מול היתרך ירוץ עבדך כמו היער, ישתחווה ידי אל מול היתרך.
Page 142, Shalom Aleichem.
And joining me is daughter of our very own Allison Kerr and one who grew up here, Abby Oceans. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Yimelech מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 138, we continue to build our way into Shabbat Lecha Dodi.
שמור וזכור בדיבורך.
Keep and remember a single command.
תשמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Second stanza.
לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם ניסוחה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. Fifth stanza, awake, awake. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף. Arise, shine, awake and sing.
אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה לך דודי, כדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Welcoming the Sabbath bride, last stanza.
בואי ושלום, עצרת
Enter in
פעלה,
peace.
גם
Entering gladness and
בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה.
Come, we great Shabbat.
בואי חלה, הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. הולך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. פני שבת, פני שבת
Page 140.
ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai lai.
Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Respond together.
Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalelai lai lai, 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 yalelai lai lai.
Let's be seated, page 148, 149. Independently, we read in Hebrew or English, loud enough to hear our own voice, soft enough so as not to disturb our neighbor as we create an orchestra of sounds. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'shamayim u'v'tzvah b'shnei
El Chai V'Kayam, Sheminu Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. We join together halfway through the prayer, or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Or mipnei choshech, or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Light to dark now. Or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Amari V'Aravim.
Page 150.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadet. Just your beautiful voices. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta. ואהבתך אל תסתיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Return to page 158. And for this melody that might remind some of us of camp or camp of our children or grandchildren, I need a rabbinical student to come join me. So Abby, thank you again for coming and joining us. Let's get out of this air conditioning for one moment. Let's go to camp. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא עושה פלא, נורא עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי יפד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 161.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm.
Let there be love
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu,
Hashkivenu
Adonai Eloheinu.
Eloheinu Shalom.
Leshalom.
Let there be love
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We gather up our words of gratitude and praise from our journeys through this week as we rise together in body or spirit on page 164 for the Amidah Tefillah together.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufiagi Tehilatecha Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufiagi Tehilatecha. Open up our lips. Open up our lips so we may praise your name. Open up our hearts so we can feel our pain. Open up our souls and let our love make us whole. We will pray.
We will pray.
We will praise your name, Adonai. Sifatai Tiftach. Ufiagi Tehilatecha. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufiagi Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל העליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומציל אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי תומך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Continue with the meditations of our own hearts, or we can be inspired by the pages of the Siddur. We'll join back together in a few moments.
Yai, rai, rai, yai, rai, rai, rai. Yai, rai, rai, yai, rai, rai, rai. We'll conclude our Amidah on page 178 with that newish melody rising up, bringing the peace all the way down. Shalom Rav. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav ad Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav ad Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמו בשלום. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. Bring the peace down one more time. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
This time we focus that prayer for peace, that extra measure of wholeness on Shabbat for our loved ones who are in need of healing, whether it's healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there is someone you are thinking of this Shabbat in the room, I'll invite you to rise so we may hear their names aloud. On Zoom, please do enter their names in the chat so we may hold all of them in our hearts as a community. Craig Weiner is watching. We wish him Misha Berach as well. As we join all of our prayers together, the words are on page 371.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekol habracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yisheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We also want to acknowledge the moments of joy, the Shehechianu moments in our community this week. Any birthdays or anniversaries to share in this week? Your daughter-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday to her. Other birthdays or anniversaries? Your 50th anniversary tomorrow. A big mazal tov to you. Yes. Oh, 44 years since your engagement. Beautiful. And your granddaughters, a big one for your granddaughter. Happy birthday to her. Others that I missed? Yeah. Oh, beautiful. 5 is a beautiful age. Mazal tov to your grandson. Anyone else? Birthdays, anniversaries? Oh, I know we have. Oh, Oren, way in the back. Lost his first tooth. That is a big Shehechianu moment. And we know we have two other birthdays in the community this week. My brother-in-law, Michael Rosenberg, and Sean Azell is celebrating a big birthday this week.
Excellent. So a lot of wonderful things to celebrate this evening, but I received a beautiful email from Elizabeth Klingen asking us if we could say a special blessing upon her parents. So I would like to call upon Eldon and Carol on their 50th anniversary. Let's all rise as we go to the ark together, because 50 years is a significant milestone. Eldon, are you going to be okay up here? Or where was the wedding? New York City? No. In Brookline. I knew you made a stop in New York, so I wasn't sure. Got it. Where in Brookline?
Temple Sinai. Temple
This is the secret to a long marriage. Here it is. Who's going to win? We ask for God's blessing upon you on this evening in the presence of our community, a community that cares for you so deeply and that you've given so much to over these many years. With the words, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, O God, God of our forefathers and mothers, bless Carol and Eldon on this day, who now remember that 50 years ago they stood under the bima in Brookline, I think. May they always be grateful for the years that have passed and the many experiences that they've shared together. May they be thankful for the strength that allowed them to weather life's storms and the compassion and understanding that allowed them to grow independently and together. And may they see their children and their children's children as a lasting legacy of their love. Oh God, just as you have been with them through their many years together, may you continue to bless them with your presence for many, many more years to come. And let us all say,
Amen.
for 50 years, for first teeth, for birthdays, for engagements on Bastille Day, which I have to figure out. Let's give thanks, everyone.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Let's say amen.
So Israel has been in the news so much and in our minds and hearts so much these past several months. I do not want to talk about Israel's domestic policy and what's going on, even though it's incredibly important. I think I've addressed judicial reform 3 times in the last 3 months. And unfortunately, it keeps going and it keeps heating up, but we'll have other times to discuss judicial reform. But after many trips to Israel, many, and dozens of times leading people to Israel for congregational trips, which is just so deep in my heart, something I just absolutely love to do, bring people to Israel. I was really happy to be brought to Israel a few weeks ago and brought to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Bahrain by the governments of those countries with some really royal treatment, literally, as a guest at these governments. And so I just wanted to share a few words about Israel foreign policy and the importance of having good neighbors. So, and I hope to address this deeper at another time when we can have questions and a real session and pictures and all that good stuff. But on August 12th, 2020, something extraordinary really happened in the world as a historic agreement was signed between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. It was formally entitled the Declaration of Peace, Cooperation, and Friendly Relationships between the UAE and Israel. But it was more commonly referred to as the Abraham Accords. And a month after signing the Abraham Accords between the UAE and Israel, actually on September 11th, ironically, a second Arab state joined the agreement, Bahrain. And then 1 month later, on October 23rd, another Arab nation joined the Accords, Sudan. And then 2 months later, on December 10th, a fourth nation joined the Abraham Accords, Morocco, all coordinated by the United States of America. And yet, the American Jewish community, including ourselves, did very little to celebrate. And I actually think for 2 reasons. One, you may remember, it was COVID in 2020. And it was very difficult to gather together to rejoice in this historic moment. But I actually think the second reason is the real reason why most American Jews didn't celebrate. And I can sum it up in 1 syllable: Trump. That's the reason. Because at a time of deep polarization, when American Jews had a very difficult time with the character of the president, especially after Charlottesville, we just didn't want to give him credit. And so many American Jews were unwilling to celebrate. And upon reflection, I think it was an oversight, because we missed a really historic moment in the life of the Middle East. And that's why a few weeks ago, at the invitation of the Emirati government, I was invited along with 11 other rabbis to travel to Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Bahrain and then Jerusalem to celebrate the signing of the Abraham Accords, which I hope will one day be considered one of the greatest moments in Middle East and Jewish history, when a large part of the Arab world accepted Israel, not only as a state in the Middle East, but a state that belongs in the Middle East. Not just to tolerate Israel, but for the first time to actually welcome Israel. And it was due to a great divide, as many of you know, in the Arab world, between the Sunnis, best symbolized by Saudi Arabia and the Gulf nations, and the Shiites, largely represented by Iran and its proxies. And because Israel and the Sunnis share a common enemy and an existential threat in Iran, a peace agreement was finally possible. And we need to give the Trump administration and the Biden administration now a great deal of credit for supporting these accords, because it required American aid, and it continues to require American aid to support these nations in making peace with Israel. And so, at the invitation of the Emirates, I flew on Etihad Airlines. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it's the national airline of the United Arab Emirates. And I get on the airplane, beautiful airplane, kosher food, my Orthodox colleagues in kippots, and I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. And then I land in Abu Dhabi, and we are absolutely embraced by Emiratis representing the government. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. And we travel to the Abrahamic family house, an extraordinary example of tolerance, where there are 3 brand new and extraordinary religious buildings, a church, a synagogue, and a mosque, all sharing a common space. And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. And then I'm on this man-made island in the middle of the water, and it's the Louvre, an art museum in the middle of the desert, and I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. But it seems like the Crown Prince really likes to spend money, and he's got plenty of it, on European art. And so we looked at the Louvre and the beautiful art, and then we went to the Grand Mosque, the most beautiful mosque and the largest one in the UAE. And then we visited with members of the royal family, and we visited with members of the Jewish community as well. There are only 200 Jews living in Abu Dhabi out of a population of 1 million. Now, there were more Jews, never a large number, but there were more Jews until 1948, when the Jews fled out of fear after the establishment of Israel. The Emirati population is actually only 11% Emirati. Some call it a family with a country. There's really a small family of people that have a country, and 11% of them are allowed to own land. The entire 89%, the others, come from outside of the nation and can work there, but can't own land. And thanks to the oil money that's rolled in since the 1970s, the ruler, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, is able to control the population by giving out money to the 11% largely, but also to keep many of the workers happy as well, which creates an incredibly clean nation. It kind of looks like Disney World. Because I went out at 6 a.m. to run, because it was 115 degrees by about 9 in the morning, and there were workers everywhere, cleaning and weeding. Of course, no one is born in the Emirates. 89% of the people are not. They're brought in simply to work. And the ruler has outlawed a lot of free speech. He's also outlawed Islamic fundamentalism, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood. And so I asked one of our guides, what is it like to live in a country where you can't protest? And she said to me, why would we want to protest? The ruler is our father. He loves us. He wants what's best for us. Why would we ever want to protest? Now, part of me thinks she knew that someone was listening, and she was going to have what they call a hidden disappearance, which you're never seen again. But in truth, no, I actually think she believed it, because I asked many others the same response. And what I witnessed that was most extraordinary of all, though, was that while it's far from a democracy, it is actually a nation that is learning to welcome other cultures and religions in a very deep and sincere way. There was a very warm embrace of the Jewish community and pride in recognizing Israel as a state among the nations. And then we went to Dubai, which is a little different than Abu Dhabi. Whereas Abu Dhabi is like a quieter Washington, D.C., Dubai is like New York, South Beach, and Las Vegas, all rolled up into one. There is actually a ski slope in a shopping mall. They have stores I've never seen before. After watching all the bar and bat mitzvahs this year, coming in sneakers, the students, is very popular. We didn't do that in my day, wear sneakers to our bar mitzvah service. I saw in Dubai the first sneaker dry cleaning service. It's gonna come here, I tell you, it's all from Dubai. Of course, Dubai also has the largest building in the entire world. Dubai even has a Holocaust museum. And we went to the Holocaust Museum, and pretty extraordinary, an Emirati man just said, I wanted my people to learn. And if you're going to learn tolerance, you've got to understand the Holocaust. And see, he was able to gather all of these materials to tell the story of the Jewish people in Europe, in Dubai. And then he sat us down afterwards and he said, I started this museum and it took me about 10 years to make it what it is today. But 2 years ago, and he's in his, the whole traditional outfit of the Emiratis, he said, 2 years ago, I did 23andMe. 92% Emirati, about 5% Jewish. Pretty amazing. So who knows? But it is a Jewish community in Dubai of about 1,000 to 2,000 people, depending on how you count, because none of them are citizens. They're coming from different places, largely from Israel. And Israel today is doing over $300 million in trade with Dubai and Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, with nearly 1 million Israelis visiting Dubai, which is absolutely extraordinary. The people from Dubai are not going to Israel. They're working hard on that. The reason is Tel Aviv's incredibly expensive. Dubai is not. They have misperceptions of Israel as a very violent place, because in the press, the only thing that's been reported is the violence. And 3, there's profiling at the airports. When you come in from the Gulf states in traditional garb, your security is a little different than the security we go through. And Israel's working on that as well. It's pretty extraordinary to visit this incredibly wealthy, new, booming place. And then I went to Bahrain, an island's north near Iraq. And Bahrain was very different. It's a much poorer nation. And unlike the Emirates, who have outlawed the Muslim Brotherhood, in Bahrain, the population is actually 60% Shia, which is very unusual, a Sunni leader to make peace with Israel when 60% of his population is Shia. That takes courage, because the Shiites are religiously attached to Iran. And in Bahrain, interestingly enough, unlike the Emirates, the people have more of a voice. There's actually a legislature. There are actually 2 branches of governments. One is elected and one is appointed. And in the appointed body, there's actually a Jewish seat. So out of very few Jews, there has to be a Jew in the government. And the government we actually met with the Jewish representative, the Israeli ambassador, the whole group in Bahrain. They make laws, but every law has to be approved by the leader. So you're making laws, but you know who really makes them. And whereas the UAE is doing $300 million in trade with Israel, Bahrain is only doing $14 million. Very different, 14 million versus 300 million. A very large difference. And whereas 1 million Israelis have traveled to Dubai, only a few thousand have traveled to Bahrain. And so the exchange amongst people is not as great, which makes the peace agreement a little more flimsy when the people aren't meeting one another. And it's something the Israeli government recognizes they need to work on. In addition, the Jewish community in Bahrain, out of a population of 1.5 million, is 50. And most of those Jews are over the age of 70 years old. They lost their Torah in 1948 when the building was burned to the ground, and it wasn't replaced until the Abraham Accords were signed. And then we left Bahrain, and we traveled to Israel. It was, of course, sponsored by the Bahraini government, so I got to take the Bahrain national air carrier, Gulf Air, which, when I entered the airport, said, Gulf Air, Bahrain's most improved airline. I kid you not. I don't know who came up with that slogan, but not what I wanted to see. So I entered Bahrain's most improved airline. It was actually a beautiful flight. I sat down in my beautiful seat, and I turned on the television, and I watched the little plane. You know, however they do that. You watch the plane flying over the map. And I watched us flying to Israel by flying over Saudi Arabia. And I started to get emotional. Like, I've landed in Israel so many times, but I've never come from that direction. And it wasn't so long ago that you couldn't fly over Saudi airspace to Israel. In fact, you couldn't even enter Gulf states if you had Israel stamped on the passport. And here I was flying to Tel Aviv. And we arrived to Israel, went to Jerusalem, met with members of the government, and then spoke with someone who's spoken here, Tal Becker, a friend who's a teacher at the Hartman Institute. And he was actually one of the negotiators of the Abraham Accords. And he said, in order to make peace, you don't have to make change. Instead, you need to convince the other side that change is possible. That's the beginning of negotiation, when you can convince the other side that it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what the Abraham Accord signers did. They took a step to believe that change was possible, that they didn't have to always live that way. They didn't have to be enemies. In fact, they could support one another economically, culturally, even physically. And by doing so, all the nations could grow. And that's what I witnessed in the Middle East. And if it wasn't so far and so hard to get to, I would say we all need to go. I guess you can quote me on this. Even though Gulf Airlines was very lovely, it's probably not worth flying there for 2 days or 3 days. But if you can kind of attach it to a trip or a fly-through, I think it really deserves our support. You see, it's getting better in the Middle East. Nations once at war are talking to each other and helping each other. Even Saudi Arabia, which we're waiting for to make peace with Israel, flights are going back and forth. Israeli businessmen are traveling there. Government officials, military is going back and forth. There just hasn't been the courage to really sign on the dotted line. And yet, even despite that, it's pretty amazing to witness. It's a reason to celebrate. And most importantly, support the U.S. government and advocate for the U.S.-Israel relationship and the support for the Abraham Accords, because it does require money. And the U.S. needs to continue to support nations that are open to change and tolerance and the acceptance of other religions and cultures, just as I got to glimpse. So may we all have that opportunity one day. May peace grow in the Middle East. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 586 and we rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach lahadon hakol, lated gedula leotze breshit, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
As we begin to conclude, we think of those, our loved ones who are no longer with us, those we have lost at this season in years past, whose yard sites we honor this week. Those who we have lost in the past 30 days, our relatives and our parents who we remember, who we have lost in the past year. If you are remembering someone in a period of mourning, we invite you to rise, to share the name of your loved one as well as your relationship to them as we make our way around the room. If you are joining us on Zoom, please enter their names in our chat, and we will remember them as well. Do we miss anyone? Yes. Go ahead and share. Thank you. We also remember those, our dear community members, some mentioned this evening, who we have lost in the last 30 days. Stephen Abate, James Adelson, Brett Cohen, Howard Goldstein, Barbara Lazar, Harriet Charno Robbins, Gerald Shapiro, Linda Wiggensberg, Jonathan Weiss, and Robert Zalash. We have been asked to read the names of Bessie Duddleson, Charles Feldman, Ernest Greenberg, and Andrew Hahn, as well as Robert Sampson. We invite you to rise as a community. We remember our dear ones and turn to page 598 to recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon u'b'chaye decho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudeshah.
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma be'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael be'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael be'imru. Amen.
Yahaseh shalom. Yahaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom. Yahaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Rabbi Harper, announcements.
With pleasure. So we are still in the midst of our Summer Institute with many wonderful opportunities for learning. I want to draw your attention to a trip to the Berkshires to see the amazing play Golda's Balcony, about Golda Meir. If you want to join Josh and I, the registration deadline is next Thursday, the 20th. So if you have questions, come and ask, but don't forget to register to hold your spot. We have an opportunity to get to know Rabbi Kalman a little bit better this coming Tuesday at 7. That is a hybrid experience. You can come and join us here. You can tune in online. And we'll also have an opportunity to do the same with Rabbi Rosen on Tuesday, August 1st. And just to mark your calendar a little bit in advance, for the middle of August, Allison Kerr and I are going to be teaching a new kind of learning here, an intensive, multiple nights from August 14th to 17th. It comes with free dinner, and we're going to be learning about the Friday night service. So why wouldn't you join us? So I hope you will. And with all of that, let's turn to...
And before we turn to Kiddush, I want to say thank you so much to Abby for joining us musically, and Elisheva, thank you so much for joining us on percussion throughout. Such a blessing to lead with you.
And before we join Kiddush, I want to say welcome to all of you who are new to Temple Beth Elohim. I notice a few of you who have toured Temple Beth Elohim in the last few days. Welcome back. It's good to see you as well. So, Kiddush, do you see any Bar Mitzvah students here?
I don't know if we have any Bar Mitzvah.
Self-proclaimed Bar Mitzvah students?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Page 123, Jinx.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
melech haolam asher
kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikano lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך ואהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. Raise it nice and high. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
I don't know, what do you do?
L'chaim, take us up.
So I was thinking we could do the challah tonight, Tat Shabbat style. If there's anyone who's younger than Bar Mitzvah, I see a couple of those. Do you want to come help
Lorelai
uncover the
is
challah?
younger than
I would say that
Mitzvah.
Lorelai is underneath the mitzvah too. Anyone younger? Ella, Cece,
We've
maybe?
been priming you guys.
Oren,
Come on
somewhere
up.
over here. Cece, you want to come on up?
Come on.
Last chance. All right, here we go,
We'll
friends. Can you
share.
help uncover the challah?
Ella, can you
One.
grab it?
Oh, Cece, here you go. Last chance. 1, 2, 3. Take it off. Oh, someone's got to do it. There you go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'orez b'te'avo.
Grab a piece, complete a bite, complete the mitzvah. And we wish you all a big hearty Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. עושה שלום, שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עושה שלום, שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. הוא יעשה שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. עושה שלום, שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עושה שלום, שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום.